Just like before, I mist the area down. I'm adding a relatively thick layer of tile adhesive to our foundation, then scraping off the excess with my tile rake. I carefully return the paver to the center position. I check it's aligned correctly using a spirit level parallel to our steps.
You come and go like a monsoon rain. You hide and show like a lightning bolt. You have it all.
In our last episode, we completed our concrete base that we'll be laying the recycled pavers on. The 75mm thick concrete slab laid with rebar will create a really stable base. It also increases the height of the structure so the pavers will match the existing steps on the deck entryway. After allowing the concrete to set up and harden, we removed the formwork and tidied up some of the bumps in the concrete with my grinder. I washed the slab thoroughly as it's key to have a really clean contact with our cement when we get to the process of sticking the pavers on. I then did one last double check with my level to make sure we had a completely flat surface. There'll be two parts to this paving process. There's the horizontal pavers we're sticking on top of the slab, and the pavers will be cementing on vertically around the perimeter of our slab. To help keep the side pavers flat and straight, I'm setting up a piece of timber attached to the pergola. This will create a straight edge for these side pavers to set up against. I'm using some packers under this timber form and checking with my level to get it in line and perfectly flat with the top of the slab. Once everything's plumb, I lock it off with a heavy timber screw and move on to the other side and repeat the process. With this timber in place, I've created a 45mm gap to set our pavers up against. I'll be using my wet saw to manufacture these 100mm wide strips of paver. In our stockpile of recycled pavers, we have two thicknesses. The thicker ones are 45mm we're going to be using for the horizontal paving, and we also have some thinner 40mm pavers. These are the ones I'm going to use for the side cladding. I line up the blade of the wet saw with our pencil mark. When I'm cutting pavers this thick, I take my time and do multiple passes to keep the cut straight and to not overheat the blade. I'm going to double check our measurements by test fitting this first one in place. I want to make sure the cut paver matches the top of our concrete slab exactly. The first row of horizontal pavers will be sitting on top of these clad pavers, so it's important to get them right as this is a highly visual part of our structure. I'm using our first test paver to scribe and cut the rest of the pavers we'll need for the whole perimeter of our platform.
But there's some words that I just want to say, to put it all straight before this night turns into day, and then I'm on my way. Yes, I'm on my way.
Once all the pieces are cut and washed, I stack them around the perimeter of our foundation in preparation for sticking the first couple onto the side of the platform. I'm unscrewing the timber straight edge so I have room to stick the tiles onto the concrete foundation. I've put the first piece in the center of our slab, and I'll work my way either side out from there. This will ensure a really symmetrical layout. I'm dry fitting the two paver pieces and double checking them with my straight edge. When I'm satisfied they're going to fit properly, I set up to cement them in place. It's always a good idea to lightly mist the area we're going to cement. It really helps the cement bind to the concrete. The idea is to butter both surfaces with our tile adhesive. I want to end up with about 5mm of tile cement between the foundation and the paver. So I apply about half that thickness to both surfaces. I then set it in place and use our timber straight edge to check its alignment. I can see with my straight edge that I haven't put enough tile cement on both the surfaces. So I remove the paver, add some more tile cement and then put it back in place. I nudge it into alignment with the centre paver we already have fixed in place, and then move on to installing the paver on the other side.
You said, let me tell you everything I've seen, the friends I've made, and then you tell me how you've been. Look a little closer, it's been quite some time. You gotta let me know if I'm out of line. But there's some words that I just wanna hear you say, to put it all straight before this night turns into day, and then I'm on my way. Yeah. Yes, I'm on my way.
I'll let these side pieces dry and set in place before adding any more to them. In the meantime, we're going to set the first centerpiece for our horizontal pavers. After checking with my tape measure that the paving stone's exactly in the center, I prepare to cement it in place. The product I'm using to stick the tiles in place is called ceramicrete, and it's purpose designed for sticking heavy brick, tile and stone onto concrete surfaces. Just like before, I mist the area down to aid the ceramicrete in its bonding to the concrete. I'm adding a relatively thick layer of tile adhesive to our foundation, then scraping off the excess with my tile rake. When I'm satisfied I've got a good bed of cement in place, I carefully return the paver to the center position and push it hard down onto the foundation, wobbling it back and forth a little bit so I can feel it make contact with the concrete. I check it's aligned correctly using a spirit level and a pencil line that's marked parallel to our steps. With the center starting piece in place, I dry fit the other pavers either side of it. After checking the timber step against the parallel line we've set, I realise I'm going to have to make a slight trim on one of the pavers to be able to keep everything square. I mark up one of the pavers I've selected for this first row with my pencil. I only want to rip off about 3 mil from the edge. I take the paver over to my wet saw to make the cut.
Quiet voices in the night. Time is running out of sight. A lonely wind is passing by, tries to carry all the whispers that it finds. The walls are listening when we talk, making echoes as we walk. There's no one left but you and me. It's like a made-up place that only we can see. Hold my hand and hear the words I say. Close your eyes and let us fade away. Build a secret place for you and me. Let our minds be caught up in a dream.
With the dry layout set completely plumb to our square platform, I move the pavers off to the side in a convenient position for relaying them, and then apply the ceramicrete with my trowel and tile rake.
Standing underneath the lights, look into each other's eyes. There's no one left but you and me. It's like a made-up place that only we can see.
I try and keep the pavers stacked as close to where I'm going to relay them as possible. These 400mm pavers are really heavy.
Standing underneath the lights, look into each other's eyes. Tired snowflakes are coming down, collapse into water when they hit the ground. I hear the sound of empty streets. Yesterday has gone to sleep. all that's left is you and me. I can promise you're the only thing I see.
Part of my process for the reconstruction of this patio is to add our pavers in small sections and allow them to dry and set up and be solid before adding more pavers next to them. This stops us bumping the previously laid pavers out of alignment. I'm adding another one of our vertical pavers along the front here whilst we let that first row of horizontal pavers set up. After letting the first row of pavers set up overnight, we're ready to put the next row on. I don't need to wet the area down with the hose because it's been raining this morning, but I give it a quick sweep to make sure there aren't any small stones or bits of gravel that'll get underneath our pavers. The most important part about laying this second row is making sure the pavers are centered on the previous row on the halfway point to create our brick layout. I'm double checking with my tape measure to make sure they're laying exactly halfway across the previous row. We'll just let this rainstorm pass over and then we'll get back to sticking these pavers down.
Close your eyes and let us fade away. Build a secret place for you and me. Let our minds be caught up in a dream. Standing underneath the lights, look into each other's eyes. There's no one left but you and me. It's like a made-up place that only we can see.
I double check this row with my tape measure to make sure it's sitting square and symmetrical to our foundation. Join me on the next episode as we continue to lay our recycled pavers.
Walls are listening when we talk, making echoes as we walk. There's no one left but you and me. It's like a made-up place that only we can see. Hold my hand and hear the words I say. Close your eyes and let us fade away. Build a secret place for you and me. Let our minds be caught up in a dream.
Thanks for joining me this week on my YouTube channel. Check the link below, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe button or make a comment so I can help you with your future construction solutions. And don't forget to follow our channel for more ideas and how-to tips for home and garden projects.